Hey guys, it's Jenny Delich. I wanted to give you some tips on how to get through your chemo treatments. I was diagnosed with ductal carcinoma, breast cancer, which was estrogen and progesterone positive in 2024. And I had the full mastectomy. I did 5 months of chemo, including platinum based. I had the red devil that everyone talks about, that red injection that they put in your port. I have a port in right here that's getting ready to be taken out tomorrow. And then I had 21 rounds of radiation, and that was earlier this year. Now it's about to be 2026, and I'm doing great, and I cannot wait to tell you guys this is not going to be as scary of an experience as you think it's going to be. Now, mind you, when I was diagnosed and going through the thought of like, oh, I'm going to lose all my hair because I can be a little bit vain. Sorry, I mean, I know you can probably relate. You're scared to lose your hair. You're going to lose your boobs and your hair. Like that sounds terrible. I remember crying in the bathtub, scared out of my mind to go through this. I thought I was going to die. But I did lots of prayer, lots of meditation, and watched lots of YouTube videos. So I'm going to give you some tips that I wish that I would have had, although I did learn along the way, and that really greatly reduced my fatigue and nausea and anxiety throughout this whole thing. So step 1, if you're, depending on where you're at in your chemo or your journey, go ahead and get microblading done weeks before your first treatment, because you need to have it done before chemo starts because you need it to heal. You're not supposed to do any tattooing, which is a form of tattoo, semi-permanent tattoo, not while you're actively getting injected. So you need to do this weeks in advance, but I lost my hair first, and then I lost my eyebrows and my eyelashes towards the end. I used rosemary oil on my eyelashes and eyebrows to kind of keep them there as long as I could. And then towards the end, it's kind of weird. It literally, all my eyelashes like fell out like overnight at the very end. It was kind of weird. But it can take some time. So get the microblading done. The next thing I want to tell you to do is to make this elixir drink with spring water, which has natural occurring minerals and salts in it, versus purified water or tap water. Please do not drink tap water during your chemo treatments, or ever for that matter, because it's full of heavy metals, all kinds of bullshit. I don't need to go down that route. You guys, should be pretty straightforward and simple. But to this water, I want you to add raw organic honey, local if you can get it. There's bee farms around you. I'm sure you can find it. So add in about a tablespoon to 2 tablespoons of water for your, I'd have a big glass jug. Don't drink out of plastic, because in this journey, you're going to learn that you want to stay away from estrogen mimicking plastics. Okay, don't store your food in plastics. Don't drink out of plastics. Don't use plastic utensils. Do not cook with plastic. It's a whole thing, okay? So, and I don't want to overwhelm you with too much information. I'm getting a little excited because my brain, and my ADHD brain starts going crazy, and I want to start talking about all kinds of stuff, but I need to keep it together so I don't make this video last 10,000 years. So drink this out of a glass bottle or stainless steel if you must, food grade, surgical grade, whatever you want to call it, the real dense stainless steel, and drink it all throughout the day. This will help you stay hydrated. It has natural electrolytes in it. You've added salt and citrus, which is going to be a natural Gatorade, if you will, without all the dyes and sugar, because you want to avoid all that stuff too. Grounding as much as possible, because you're going to be putting lots of toxins in your body through this chemo treatment, and you want the earth to take away those negative ions as many times as you possibly can. I noticed it helped with all my inflammation, my pain, my fatigue, my nausea, and I'm talking about just putting your bare feet on the ground. Your body is a battery that is rechargeable by the sun and the earth. Our house, when it gets an overwhelmed circuit, there's literally a ground wire that goes outside into the ground, because we are actually taking the overwhelmed body and releasing that negative energy back into the ground. I know it sounds woo-woo, but there actually is real science behind it. There has been scans that before and after to show a reduction in inflammation. So this is not bullshit, it is real. So definitely go outside and put your bare feet on the ground as much as you possibly can. Heck, if it's nice outside, just go work outside. Take your laptop and a chair and just work outside for as long as you can. The sun's good for you. The earth's good for you. Do it. Now, when you're getting treatment, take your fingertips and your toes, which is where all your nerve endings are, because chemo likes to, I don't say likes to, but it can attack the nerve endings and give you what's called neuropathy, which is nerve ending pain. I had no neuropathy during my experience because I put my fingers and toes in ice, not before and after treatment, just during treatment. So after you get your pre-meds, you'll get some Benadryl, you'll get some steroids leading up to your actual injection that's like going to last like an hour or whatever. During that hour that you're actually getting your chemo in, that's when you want to put your fingers and toes in ice. This is going to slow the blood flow to those areas, just like with the cold cap, which I didn't even mess with the cold cap, guys. I just lost my hair and grew it back. Now, obviously, as you can see, it's growing back. And I can do a whole video about hair grow tips because my hair has grown back even thicker than it was before. You know, I can go, there's quite a few supplements I was taking for that. And rosemary oil is amazing for your eyebrows, eyelashes, and your hair. Just rub it all in. Okay, so soak your fingers in the ice and don't give yourself frostbite. Okay, once your fingers and toes start getting really cold and it starts getting painful, take them out. It doesn't need to be submerged the entire time. You don't need your entire hand submerged, just your fingertips and your finger toe tips. I wasn't putting my entire foot in the bath. And what I actually did is I brought one of those like, you know, like from Sam's Club or Costco, you know, it's like a insulated bag. And I would go grab a bag of ice this big because the nurses would not bring me ice. I asked and they were like, no. So I brought in a bag of ice from like a gas station, like this much. And I brought in 2 glass containers, just what I use with my food. It does not have to be big. I'm talking like this big. Fill it with ice and a little bit of water so that way it stays, you know, stays pretty cold. And 1 for your feet and one for your toes. Set the one on your lap for your fingertips and then the one on the floor for your toes, and just dip your toes and fingers in and out. When it starts to get painful, take it out because we do not want to get frostbite. And the nurses are going to look at you crazy. I know. My doctor thinks I'm crazy. But doctors, mind you, have only had less than 20 hours of nutritional training and prevention training in their medical training, okay? They're called medicine doctors for a reason. MD stands for medicine doctor. They're only taught how to prescribe medication, which medication can be life-saving. But it's on you to do all this research on your own, unfortunately. Unless you can find some really good holistic doctors. They're called functional practitioners. If that's an easier way to Google these people in your surrounding area, you're going to want to find one to find the real root cause of your cancer, because the doctors are not going to tell you your root cause. Okay. You're going to have to figure that on your own, whether that's from emotional trauma, bad eating habits, which is probably what it is, stress, beauty products. Download the app called Think Dirty. It will scan all your beauty products. And us women need to really be thinking about this, because I noticed with all the women that I've talked to that have had breast cancer, one thing stands out. All of them seem like they're heavy cosmetic users. Like they look like they wear a lot of makeup, which was me in my 20s. I would be fully dolled up like all the time in my 20s. So I'm not entirely surprised, but I do have the BRCA2 gene, which predispositions me to breast cancer. That's why I got the full mastectomy and I'm having my final reconstruction surgery tomorrow. That surgery was not as crazy as I thought it was going to be, but if you're like making that decision, go ahead and do it. If it makes you like feel like you can sleep at night, because I didn't want to think about it coming back. It did spread to my lymph nodes, which is why I had to have the chemo. I had 20 some odd lymph nodes removed, which reminds me, throw away any deodorant that has aluminum in it. You're not going to want to use that. Aluminum plugs up your holes. That's the whole method of how that deodorant works, is by plugging up the holes with aluminum. You do not want to do that. This is right where all these sensitive lymph nodes are, which is where the breast cancer likes to spread first. You want to actually use clay masks to detox your area to get all that out. And then you're going to want to use aluminum-free deodorant. If you're finding that the aluminum-free deodorant is not working, it's because you need to do those clay masks to help pull all the gunk out, because you've been clogging them every day with aluminum. This is such good information, guys. I wish I had all this when I was started. Go ahead and get the genetic testing, because you want to know what you're predispositioned for. You want to know how you can avoid this, and knowing that BRCA2 patients are more likely to get estrogen-driven breast cancer and ovarian cancer tells me that there is something connected to the estrogen and the BRCA. And I actually started finding a little piece of that puzzle. I'm not going to comment on that yet because I need to do some more research on that. But the main key takeaway on that is to make sure you have balanced hormones. Read the book Fast Like a Girl. Dr. Mindy Pelz, you are amazing, my friend. You have taught me so much. And she brings up a good point. A lot of these original scientific studies were done by men. There is a lack of knowledge when it comes to female reproductive hormone cycling nutritional needs. We need to be fasting at different times of the month. And here's another important, interesting thing. Women's hormone peaks every 28 days, just like the moon. We are tied to the moon cycle. Men's testosterone peaks every 24 hours, just like the sun. We're actually way more connected to the stars than we could ever think about before, the planets and the stars. So there's something to that. The information has been suppressed or not really looked into because science used to think that women were too complex, which we are a little complex. We have a different physiology every so many days. We go through a different phase. But there's actual different nutritional needs, and she can dive into all that. Definitely read all of her books. I'm actually reading every single one of her books. I'm not going to skip any beats on that. Do what's called dry brushing before you do an Epsom salt bath. This is going to help you detox that chemo out of you and greatly reduce the pain that you get from the chemo. So dry brushing is, you can look it up. I'm not going to get into it real deeply, but you get on the hands and the feet, work your way up to the heart, roughly 10 minutes, 15 minutes before you get into the Epsom salt bath, which is going to help you pull all that stuff out. Maybe douse a little bit of baking soda into the bath water as well. Look up what's called a detox bath, because once the chemo's done doing its job, you want to get it out. You don't want it to fester and linger and hang out in your body. Now, we talked about the drink, red light therapy. This is so interesting. I would do red light therapy within 48 hours prior to me getting my chemo treatment. And I noticed, I didn't do this the first time because I didn't really think about it or know about it until after my first chemo treatment. But when I added it into my routine, first or second, I don't remember. But at some point within my chemo routine, I started implementing this in, and I cut down my down days by half, okay? My very first chemo treatment, I was scared to death. And then afterwards, I had a birthday party to go to, my daughter's birthday party. I was skating that night. People were like, what in the world? You like just went through chemo and you're skating? They give you steroids, which actually gives you energy for like 24 to 48 hours after your injection. And then you have your down days. And it might be a few days that you're like absolutely want nothing to do with anyone. You want to lay in bed, chill, very low key. But then when I noticed when I did that red light therapy, I only maybe had like one down day. So think of it like that. I went from like 3 to 1. That's like more than less than half. They give you lidocaine to access your port. And so I would put the lidocaine on, and then I would put some plastic wrap over it that would help keep the lidocaine there. So that way when you do inject in the port, after a while and you've been poked 15,000 times, I used to be afraid of needles, but now I'm like, whatever, here you go. You get over it, you know? And I actually don't even, when I go get my monthly labs, I don't even wear that anymore. I only did that during chemo, and then actually it's really not that bad. They just go, all right, we're good. It's no big deal. And another point I want to make, use that steroid day to get things done. Like the day after treatment, that's when you really need to power through and get a bunch of things done before you have your down days. I would take 10,000 IUs of vitamin D every day. And collagen, which really help my joint and bone pain quite a bit. Especially if you're going to start taking hormone therapy, which is what I'm currently on. I'm technically in medical menopause right now. So I have no estrogen. I've had a period in like over a year. And taking the vitamin D, and then I also take a vitamin D complex that's got vitamin K in it, and some other things that really help bring it all together into your system to help reduce the bone pain. And I'll actually go ahead and put a comment below in the description of what exactly I've been using, the different collagen I've been using, as well as the vitamin D I've been using. Now, when it comes to, there's a lot of different things that I have done. Oh, before I forget, yes. The other thing was breakfast. So when you wake up in the morning, you're going to feel like dog crap. And so what I did, and everyone's different because lactose intolerance, whatever, but I actually would have a large glass of organic milk. I'd eat sourdough bread and put some organic pasture-raised eggs on top of my toast with like lots of butter. And this took away my nausea, like right after eating the meal. It was gone. I didn't puke at all during my treatments, which was amazing. That breakfast really, really helped me out a lot. Get rid of all your toxic Teflon pans, all of your plasticware. Go ahead and get this book, The Cancer is a Metabolic Disease by Thomas Seyfried. He is another person that I really want you to dive into. Also, The Metabolic Theory of Cancer. I can't remember the author right now, but I'm listening to her book too on audiobook. Anytime I drive or in the gym, I'm listening to this book and I'm just learning of all the different things. And it can be overwhelming. How many toxins are actually in our system that we're using? It's kind of bullshit how the FDA has passed all this stuff and allowed us to work. But when you think about how everyone's got their hands in the pot, the pharmaceutical companies, how the fact that America spends more money on healthcare than like most other countries. And then the doctors are saying, go ahead and eat whatever you want. Bullshit. Don't eat whatever you want. And I'm not saying food caused your cancer, obviously, because I am not a medical doctor. This is not medical advice. But I did keto throughout my entire radiation. And I got to tell you, I had tons of energy through my radiation. And I was expected to be very tired. I worked out through my entire radiation. I did lots of chest exercises. I would do decline dumbbell chest presses. I would try to get everything moving as much as I can so that way nothing got stagnant. You want to keep everything moving. You want to do what's called rebounding. I bought this little trampoline that you can use at home to kind of help everything moving because you don't have necessarily a pump for your sorry, I lost my train of thought. Your lymphatic system, so it relies on you tapping, moving everything around, and that's what the dry brushing does too. It gets that external stimulation that gets everything moving. I had what's called the ILR, immediate lymphatic reconstruction, which helped reduce my lymphedema. I have no lymphedema. Exercise is going to greatly reduce your risk of lymphedema. I would wear my compression arm sleeve in the beginning. I kayaked 5 miles, 5 weeks after my mastectomy, because I was not trying to get lymphedema, and I did great. I wore my arm compression sleeve the entire time. Eat with the sun schedule. Do not eat after the sun goes down if you can at all help it, because we're supposed to eat according to the sun. If you think about it, in the wintertime, our ancestors would do more fasting or eat more meat, less carbs. The sun's natural carbs, nature's carbs, like fruits and vegetables, is what you really need to be focusing on when you eat carbs. I would just eliminate bread out of your diet. I mean, unless, it helps with your nausea like it did with me during chemo. I was doing keto leading up to my chemo, and then I felt great. And then when I got because I was trying to see if it was going to reduce or get rid of my tumor, but it didn't. Because I found out that it was estrogen driven. By the time I did my surgery and they took the tumor out, it actually grew a little bit. And I think a lot of that had to do with stress. I was doing a parasite cleanse. I was doing 5,000 things. I was taking a handful of pills every single day. I was in full on stress mode. I was freaking out. I was trying to see what I could do to naturally, black seed oil, everything, apricot seeds, everything in the world that you can think of. I was doing soursop, sea moss, everything, to try to get rid of my cancer, and it did not go away. But I've been learning about BPAs and plastics and all kinds of bullshit, phthalates and sulfates that's in our products, and everything I do is clean. I don't put lotion on my skin. I just use coconut oil now. I do very minimal makeup these days. I don't use a lot of makeup anymore, and I only wear makeup if it's at all necessary. If I'm going to work, I need to be well put together. If I'm going to the gym, I'm going to the grocery store, I am not putting that stuff on my face. And actually, I'm taking lots of slow steps to reduce, because I mean, Rome wasn't built in the night, but I've switched to organic cotton sheets. I have switched to organic cotton underwear and bras, but of course, this is going to cost a lot of money and it's going to take a lot of time. So do not think that you can just do this overnight, but it's a journey, you know, and it's going to be years before that risk of reoccurrence comes back. So take these years and start getting all this crap out of your house, all the plastic containers, plastic bottles, Teflon, especially that black plastic. Don't be dipping that in food. Oh my God. You only want to put your food in ceramic, glass, preferably glass is the number one thing. You can cook with wooden utensils and you can drink out of stainless steel bottles or glass bottles. Intermittent fasting and fasting. So, and this is of course needs to be tied to your menstrual cycle. You do not want to fast during ovulation and your luteal phase, to cut it plain, short, and simple for you. Those are the times when your progesterone peaks, is during your luteal phase, which initiates the shedding of your uterine lining. And then the estrogen peaking is during your ovulation. Those 2 times you do not want to be doing any crazy dieting or any crazy exercises. But intermittent fasting is doing that like 18-6 rule. So like 16 hours of no eating, which is just basically not a late dinner or a really late breakfast, you know, or skipping breakfast, for example. You don't want to eat right before you go to bed and right when you wake up, because then you're giving your body very little time to do what's called autophagy, which is auto eat self in Latin. That's what that means. And your body was evolved for thousands of years to go days without food. And your body would actually become sharper, cleaner during these times of no food, because your body would actually sharpen the brain, produce ketones, which is a cleaner fuel source. Your brain loves ketones. Your brain's made of fat. You need fat in your diet, first and primarily foremost. Start your day. I know this is getting a little popcorny, guys. I'm sorry, I have massive ADHD. I would wake up with olive oil first thing in the morning with a little bit of balsamic vinegar. Make sure it is a single sourced olive oil. Everything organic, guys, because pesticides are estrogen mimicking too, okay? So we're trying to reduce the bad estrogens. There's good estrogens and bad estrogens. And we want high fat in our diet. We don't want a lot of carbs in our diet because our mitochondrial function can get slowed down. And that's when the zombie cells and all the cancer starts. Again, this book, okay? You're not going to find this information from your doctor. You're just not, because they are not trained in it. It's not their fault. They went to medical school, had less than 20 hours of nutritional training, and they weren't taught how to prevent cancer at all. They are called MDs, stands for medicine doctor. They are taught and paid for by the pharmaceutical companies. This is not a conspiracy theory. They own the schools. They fund the schools, the pharmaceutical companies, and the you-know-who families. So if you can become a forever patient where you're always going to be paying for the rest of your life, and I'm not saying pharmaceuticals are bad, because there's a lot of great pharmaceuticals, but they're often overused. And your insurance is not going to pay for anything that is functional. Functional practitioners is what you need to be Googling to find out maybe how you got your cancers. They're going to do way more in-depth testing than your basic lab panels that you're going to get through your doctor. They're going to find out what heavy metals are in your system, if you have parasites, and they're also going to look up what nutritional deficiencies you have so you know how to go. But really, you can't go wrong by eating a rainbow every week and eating 5 fruits and vegetables every single day. You can't go wrong with that, because God already equipped you with everything you need. But if you keep sourcing only this one source, which is man-made chemicals, then you're going to be obviously a forever patient, okay? One thing I learned, I was drinking reverse osmosis water instead of spring water, and I was wondering why my sodium levels were so darn low every time I got my blood results. I switched to spring water, and I would only drink spring water. My phone died. Once I switched to spring water, all I had in my results were just an incline in my sodium. So very interesting, because we're not really supposed to be drinking straight up water. like reverse osmosis water that's devoid of like anything in it, like natural minerals, because of osmosis. I mean, it's going to want to pull the minerals out of your body to create a natural balance from, you know, the lack of minerals that's in the water. So that pretty much is it for my chemo treatment tips. If you guys have any questions, or if you want another video about like tips for radiation, or just tips for reoccurrence, or anything that you can think of, just let me know in the comments below. And I hope you guys have a good day. Bye.